Let's dive right into this explainer and completely shift our paradigm, because today we're looking directly at ancient Hebrew manuscripts to fundamentally change how we think about a concept that gets talked about constantly but is rarely understood in its original context. We're going to explore the Hebrew meaning of sin, focusing on two massive ideas: separation and choice.
So think about this for a second. What if sin isn't just about breaking the rules? I mean, in our modern mindset, we so often treat sin as this mere checklist of right and wrong, right? Like a behavioral scorecard. But the ancient text actually reveals something entirely different. It points to something much, much deeper.
What sin really means. Unpacking the ancient Hebrew. Okay, first up, we have the word chet. It's pronounced ket, and it translates literally to missing the path or missing the mark. Picture an archer whose arrow just completely misses the target. To commit a chet is to turn aside or deviate from the intended path. And what this shows us is absolutely crucial. Sin fundamentally begins as a misalignment with God's design. It's not just doing something inherently bad in a vacuum. It's wandering off the trail.
No. This brings us to our second word, pesha, pronounced P-E-sha. And you know, this term takes things a massive step further. It means to rebel or to break away. It's describing an intentional independence, choosing your own will over God's. So it's not some accidental stumble off the path like we might imagine with a simple mistake. No, it's looking right at the path, turning your back on it, and deliberately charting your own course.
And finally, that deliberate rebellion results in avon, pronounced avon. This word translates as crookedness or twistedness. Avon describes the actual condition that results from that separation we just talked about. It's a bent nature inherited by all descendants. So, when humanity chooses pesha, that rebellion, the tragic resulting condition is avon, a totally fractured, twisted state of being.
Actions are just symptoms, the root versus the fruit.
You see, we tend to view things through a strictly modern lens, where sin simply equals wrong behavior. But the ancient Hebrew view flips this entirely on its head. To them, sin equals relational separation. We literally spend so much time focusing on the actions, the specific rule breaking, but the ancient text is telling us that stepping away from the divine presence, that is the actual core issue.
And the reality of this separation is stark. Sin is, at its absolute core, stepping away from God's voice, His presence, and His design. The wrong actions that follow, those are merely the fruit. Relational separation is the true root. Think about it. What we typically call sinning in our day-to-day language is really just the inevitable fruit of wanting independence from the divine source.
The choice in Eden, a case study in Genesis 3.
Enter the Nakashash, pronounced Nakash. We usually hear this translated as the serpent, but the shadowy figure essentially acts as the adversary. And what exactly does the adversary do? Well, he offers humanity an alternative path to God's will. He steps right in to present a choice against alignment with Elohim. It is an open invitation to separation.
Let's walk through the specific Hebrew verbs here, because they brilliantly emphasize a sequential, volitional choice for independence. First, she saw. Then, she took. Third, she ate. And finally, he ate. Notice how incredibly deliberate this is. These aren't accidents. This is a step-by-step, conscious decision to step away from God's will and follow their own.
And that brings us to a really crucial Hebrew concept, ratzon. This means will, desire, or intention. They deliberately chose their own will, their ratzon, instead of God's. They didn't just break some arbitrary rule about a tree. They consciously prioritized their own intention over the divine path. And guys, this is the ultimate expression of that rebellion we discussed earlier.
Our broken human condition, the aftermath of independence.
So, what happens next? The immediate results were absolutely devastating. Adam and Eve hid from the divine presence. They felt immense shame. They felt distance. The divine relationship was completely fractured. You know, the immediate aftermath wasn't just some physical punishment raining down from above. It was a deep, tragic relational fracture where they felt a terrifying distance from the very source of life itself.
There's this really tragic logical sequence to this aftermath. The action was stepping away. The consequence? They were garash, pronounced garash, meaning driven out or exiled. Elohim honored their choice of independence and let it shape their future. And the resulting condition? They entered into avon, that crookedness or bent nature. Because they chose separation, they had to leave the garden, entering a profoundly twisted state.
I really want this next thought to sink in for a minute. Sin is what we become when we walk away from God, a fractured likeness. We really have to understand that sin is not just what we do, it is a bent nature. It's a heart that continually misses the path precisely because it is separated from the one who laid the path in the first place.
The hope of restoration, realigning the path.
But the cosmic story doesn't end in exile, thank goodness. Elohim did not abandon his image bearers. There is the promise of a Redeemer, and this Redeemer does three vital things. He restores the intended path of alignment, he heals that inherited broken nature, the avon, and he brings humanity right back into the divine presence. The solution was always a Redeemer who wouldn't just act as a behavioral modification coach to fix our actions, but someone to completely heal our broken nature and restore that severed relationship.
I'm going to leave you with this final thought to wrap up this explainer. Since the problem is a broken relationship in nature, the solution is a Redeemer who restores alignment. True redemption is entirely about coming back into alignment. So, looking at your own life, what path are you choosing today?